guys. Episode 29, Snagged podcast and giveaways. Thanks for tuning in. Guys, what's been happening? What do you mean? Who's been fishing? What have you been doing?
Oh, I managed to get out for a bit of fish on the weekend. Will Thorpe, good old mate of mine, sent me a bit of a message. He said, "What are you doing Sunday?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing." And Mark Berg is coming down to go down, fish a few of those rivers down at the bottom end around the Huon and stuff like that. And Will hadn't fished the Huon for a while, so he wanted to go for a bit of a run and dust off some cobwebs on the Huon, chasing some bream. And yeah, we had a really good session. I think, we would have, genuinely, it was one of those sessions where you just actually lose count.
Yeah.
I don't know, a few people saw it, did a little bit of a live stream at one point on Fish Australia, just being like, oh yeah, they're coming pretty thick here. We'll take a bit of a piss take and try and catch some fish on a live video. And I think we caught about 5 bream all over 37 to the fork in a 10-minute live video. So
yeah, nice. That's awesome.
That was good. But yeah, Huon was really firing. It was structure fishing. They were, really uptight on structure. But then also found them on the flats as well. It was just it was one of those days where you could go out, you could do anything, and it just worked. So
that's good because that's a fishery that doesn't get fished so much. I think ABT are actually holding an event down there next year, which is cool. So instead of spreading it all over the state, they're going to have to do it and down there. So that'd be interesting to see what sort of size fish start coming out of that sort of thing.
And that was the first time, because previous times when I fished with Huon, I've only had the tinny. And Will Thorpe took his boat, which is a little bit quicker than just a little bit quicker than the tinny. So we skirted around, went down a fair bit lower than I'd sort of ever been before on the Huon. So it was all new to me, and such cool looking flats and stuff.
Well, those bass boats are a fantastic thing, especially when you fish in those competitions, because you can get you from one end of the fishing ground to the other in literally minutes, whereas suppose you've got a little tinny, it does make life a little bit harder. Yeah. How about you, Junior? What's been happening? You've been out there fishing much?
I did a little bit of a bream fishing thing.
Session?
Yeah, a little bit.
Whereabouts?
Around Northwest Bay.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, just went for a little bit of a search, go check some spots out.
Yeah, well, you've been pulling some big bream out there. That one you got the other week was an absolute stonker. Northwest Bay's not somewhere you particularly go and normally chase bream, so it's kind of cool to be. Did you find any good spots?
Yeah, I found one spot. I had a heap of them around. They just weren't biting.
Yeah, okay. Well, still finding them's part of the key. They're not always going to be biting. So yeah. You still, Pooch? What have you been up to?
Well, a little bit of a point of difference. Have not been doing any fishing this week or last week, but went shooting. So I went spotlighting some wallabies and going to do it again tonight. There's not much moon tonight, so we'll go and smack a few off a dairy. The wallabies are up a bit, knocking the grass around. It's a bit dry, so the farmer wants a few gone. So that's what I'm up to, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So competitions come up. Obviously, the St Helens comp's coming up, I think, this weekend. I believe it is in the Hooch.
Yeah, the classic. So it's a game fishing competition, and Jason McGivern and his wife Mel, they're doing a really good job. He's got some more helpers there, and they're really having a go in turning that competition into the great event that it is. And it's always held on the long weekend. They're going to give the prizes away no matter what. They've split the categories into broadbill and heaviest game fish, and excitingly, there's been some marlin caught and a lot more hooked than you've seen on social media. So with the yellowfin tuna, marlin, fingers crossed, it's a pretty good comp. There's always fish out off St Helens, but no, that is very exciting. So mako sharks, marlin, tuna, possibly dolphin fish. Let's go.
Absolutely, and what an amazing place to have it.
It's fun. It's funny. It's always the way. You've always got your trout and bream fishermen that'll be like, no worries. Caught this fish. Here it is. I caught it here. I caught it this, doing that. And then you got your deep sea blokes and they're just like, I caught it somewhere on the east coast of Tasmania.
Well, I think, obviously bream are spread around everywhere and it's not hard to catch them. But when you take it on some marlin and stuff like that, you guys want to keep it a little bit quiet until they're prolific down here. So it could work to them. Which I was reading a little bit of stuff about that crayfish and some of the data that's starting to come out of that. You'd probably be a bit all over that more so than myself. Well, what can you tell us about what's going on there?
Yeah, well, I suppose I can give you a seat of the pants view of it from a wreck fisherman. Like, of course, as part of the tarfish operation, I just toe the line and I'm a sponge. And when I say toe the line, I just report on what wreck fishers' attitudes are. So it's good to get out and about. But as a wreck fisher who loves his crayfishing and sort of probably a bit spoilt in the fact that I can see from inside the minds of the people that want to get these systems in place why and what benefits they are going to be. And I mean, it's when you report, it's all about the data and all about the numbers. Now, the numbers only make sense and are of value to us wreck fishers when we go to the negotiation table with things like harvest strategies. Now, the commercials, and I'm not anti-commercial, they've got a role to play in communities as any industry, and they've had reporting for quite some time, so they know how much they take against how much they spend, and also against the government subsidies to make that industry work. As wreck fishers, we need to know how many fish we pull out of the water, and then we can extrapolate the detail and overlay the amount of money that we spend on fuel and boats and gear and bait and all the rest of it, accommodation and rates for your shack, all that sort of thing makes sense. And we can work out some negotiation around splitting the fishery. It's not just a simple matter of going, yeah, nah, oh, yeah, whatever. So even though it's a bugbear to most wreck fishers that we report, we now that the reporting is mandatory, we as wreck fishers, we just should get on board with it and report and understand it's for the greater good in regard to, making sure we strengthen our position as wreck fishers. And I noticed that there was a few questions on the like NRE or Fisheries Tasmania have put out the map, and they've done a graphic of a heat map, and they've got the detail there of the reporting. And on the map, you can see a considerable amount of reporting on the east coast and up the eastern seaboard, or eastern sea of Tasmania, not so much the eastern seaboard. But there's not too much going on across the northwest and the west as far as the heat map showing the level of reporting. I'll follow up and find out what level triggers that different colour change, and you'll have to get it. Won't make sense unless you see that. You might want to grab that off the Tassie page and include that on our podcast when it goes to air, and that'll make a lot more sense. But I'm going to follow that up and find out, what's going on, and if there is a lack of reporting going on across the northwest coast and the west coast. Well, that's just part and parcel of what the government will have to sell that a little bit better. And as far as tarfish goes, I suppose we need to sell what the benefits are to wreck fishers, so we all start to report and utilise that system, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's basically.
I guess having that data is good. Obviously, it's as long as they're doing the right thing with it, and it's not hurting us any more than it needs to. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could just be like without sort of going through the data. I haven't had a good hard look at it. It might just be there's a lot more East Coast fishers than there are on the West Coast and Northwest Coast.
Oh, look, there's a bit of that, but it does stands out graphically that there's something a little bit skew-whiffy, so I made a commitment to follow that up. And definitely there's a lot more fishing goes on the East Coast and down the southeast than there does on the West Coast. The West Coast is very weather dependent, and it's not very often that you can get out there and do what we can do off the East Coast. Down the East Coast, there's plenty of little bays and areas that you can hide in behind Mariah Island, shoot and passage and get some fishing done. But yeah, it definitely needs... it's not a big conspiracy theory. You ask the questions and you get answers, and I'll ask some questions, and I might come back in the next couple of weeks and we can tease it out a bit more and find out what is going on.
Fantastic. And obviously with your role, you've been sort of running around the state recently. The sardine fishery is obviously the big talk at the moment. That's it, without sort of throwing you under the bus there too much. But what's sort of been... people's views and opinions around that, and maybe for those that don't know what's happening, maybe just a quick little spiel about that.
Yeah, no, not throwing me under the bus at all. I'm just here, like I said, in my tarfish role. I'm just going around and sponging up every attitude, not picking the eyes out of it at all. I attended the Garland organised one in Burnie. I went to all the NRE or Fisheries Tasmania organised information sessions on the proposed sardine fishery. As far as tarfish goes, the tarfish board is yet to get a report. They'll get a report. We're also putting together a sub sort of committee to keep an ongoing handle on what the rec fishers feel. But again, I can step back because I don't have my tarfish hat on this podcast. As a recreational fisher that's fished, I'm 52, so 41 years in Bass Strait, and this is where they want the fishery to be. I've seen firsthand the change in the fishery through a number of things. And when I say a change in the fishery, it's just not the southern bluefin tuna, it's the snapper and the yellowtail kingfish. The water quality has improved. The bait, and when I say the bait, the sardines, and people need to realise that sardines and pilchards are exactly the same thing. So don't think the tuna are eating the sardines and nothing else is. Pilchards, we all know everything loves a pilchard, snapper, yellowtail kingfish. So there is a risk to opening a sardine fishery because it's such a new growth area on the northwest coast and around other areas. There is a risk to having a crack at the sardines. The science is around the sardines, and if the sardine fishery will slow up. But I don't fish for sardines as a recreational fisher. I fish for the fish that eat the bait, which is the sardines and the pilchards. So a bit of a risk, no reward. So if, we'll just have, as rec fishers, we'll have to work that out. What's the risk and reward? Are we prepared to engage in conversation? I think we should as rec fishers. We shouldn't try to align ourselves with the green element. I know it's a bit frustrating, for want of a better word, as a rec fisher. You feel that you don't have a voice. Well, you do have a voice nowadays, and it's a stronger voice. You've had it for a while. You've disbelieved that you do have a voice, and that voice is tarfish. We're knuckling down and trying to do, and I said I don't have the tarfish hat on, but I'll fly the flag a little bit right now. We're working hard on giving the recreational fishers in Tasmania a voice and a firm voice. And if you come along with us and join up as members, it's free. We'll make sure that you don't have to turn to that extremist green element to align with, because it's not very clever aligning with the greens and then turning around and working out that they might be on side with this one, but they want to stop tag and release and stop fishing full stop. It's not real clever. So that's just me thinking out loud, really. That's not a tarfish position at all. I'll stress that. That's me thinking as a rec fisher from the northwest coast.
Yeah, for sure. And I suppose, you look at, those systems up north and stuff like that, how quickly, your snapper, well, not quickly, but, how over the last couple of years, your snapper, your kingfish, like you said, your tuna and stuff like that have, really started to sort of thrive in that Bass Strait area. And, there could be a chance that if there's not as much bait as there is, then, it might not sort of come back. So, yeah, there's always that sort of
aspect at the end of the day.
It's obviously taken a while to get there, and if you take away most of the bait, well, they've sort of got to eat something, so they've got to sort of go searching again. So
yeah, that's right. And it's all about the habitat, and the habitat needs to be somewhere that's going to hold the fish and somewhere that holds the bait. Now, they've stretched further and further. We've always known that the kingfish and the snapper have been quite strong in the north, northeast, and the north, northwest. But when that food becomes greater, the territory and their range becomes greater, and all of a sudden, the available food, the available habitat, and everything starts to kick off. And that's why we see snapper now, Tamar, Devonport, Port Sorell, Ulverston, Wynyard, Burnie, Smithton. That's why we see the kingfish encroaching for longer at this time of the year. That's why we see the school-sized tuna now are prevalent and the jumbos come through. So, yeah, it's a very important issue to rec fishers, and we are very, very, we're watching. We are definitely interested in this one. And when I say we, I mean rec fishers across the board. And, get on board. Your membership, like I said, free to tarfish, and we are looking for the views because we want to get this one right. It's very important.
Well said.
I reckon there was a good 5 seconds there. I'll screenshot it and put it up in the corner. I reckon Hooch looked like the sun from the Teletubbies there. He just got enlightened by the light. He was like the Teletubby man.
It's very
You
bright
were the
outside.
sun from the Teletubby.
It's the best thing about filming inside here with no windows. It's constant light the whole time, except from the brightness coming off my bald head. All right, let's get into some reports. Cool. This is the first one. I'm sure you probably saw this, Hooch. Young Sinead Dance got herself another Australian state record.
Yes, fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic. I don't think it was a Tasmanian one, but it was definitely good to see.
Well, it's an Australian state record, I heard.
There you
Oh,
go.
no, it wasn't Tasmania. That's right. You put the fish up north, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it was a marlin one. New South Wales.
That's it.
I've got the bit of detail. Yeah, definitely New South Wales.
Yeah, awesome work, young lady. It's a fantastic job.
She's got a few Tasmanian ones to come, so we'll just sit tight and wait to see if they become official.
Yeah, so awesome work, young lady. Couple of reports that have come in recently. Some decent amounts of gummies kicking out off Bull Bay, off Bruny Island there, in about 18 to 21 metres of water. Octopus and squid, absolutely the best baits there for sure. There's been plenty of squid off Dens Point. Early morning seems to be the thing. White jigs, if you've got any white jigs kicking around, they're worth doing. If not, come and buy some off me. Derwent River's been fishing extremely well for bream. Some down deep, some up in the shallows there. Obviously, you were saying before, bream also fishing well down south. So that's a good time to get into your bream fish. It seems like it's making a bit of a recurrence, the bream thing. I remember 20 years ago, bream fishing down here was absolutely insane. Everyone was trying to get into it and sort of went down a little bit of a hole there for a while. People did other things, maybe because the kingfish turned up and everything else turned up. But it's starting to have a bit of a revival, which is kind of cool. Goes without saying, salmon and mackerel absolutely everywhere. And a few youngsters have been catching them on fly, which is kind of cool. So awesome work there. That's a bit of fun. Kingfish still at Margate and off the rocks of Blackman's Bay. Stick bait lures. Not so many white soft plastics we've been selling this year, but a lot of stick baits and bib minnows. So if you want to get one Margate off the jetty and off the rocks of Blackman's Bay, definitely worth having a shot there. Swordfish out off Eaglehawk Neck. We'll talk a little bit about all that later. A few reports starting to come into those. This is a cool one. King George whiting in the south. It seems to be every single week. I'm getting reports of that now off Dens Point, Bull Bay, Northwest Bay, down the channel. So obviously a decent little fishery starting to develop down here because that's the only thing we really need down here. If we have those, we'll be laughing.
I have to suss it out.
Absolutely.
Suss it out.
Any fishing reports in the north, Hooch?
What was that, sorry?
Any fishing reports in the north?
The tuna, like we mentioned before, they've been sticking around and it's been quite encouraging that they seem to be staying quite close in and around the Burnie Fad is a good starting point, but you've really just got to get 20 metres or so offshore, which is just madness, just saying that. 20 metres offshore across Bass Strait and get your eyes out and just travel backwards and forwards between the 40 and keep your eyes peeled, the lures in the water, and you're half a chance. That's school-size fish at the minute. We're waiting for the jumbos to turn up a little bit later on. The fishing's been still quite solid out off Devonport and Port Sorell. Not massive fish, but really pretty cool to have them stick around. You mentioned King George whiting. I didn't see where, but I did see the quality of the fish. And Damon's Sheriff took Paul Worsling out, and they've done a little show, I imagine. I saw the cameraman in the background. So yeah, I look forward to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Damon and Paul and that'll be a good show. They'll interact well together, and it should be a very informative segment. So I'm not sure where that goes anymore because I don't think Paul does anything with Tackle World anymore. I think it's a BCF.
No, it's BCF affiliated now.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. There'll be some good tips there between those two.
Absolutely.
What else? The squid.
What can you tell me about this marlin up off the east coast? The reports are starting to leak out.
Yes, well, that strong current, and we were always going to have a strong current. As soon as we start to get some reports off Bermagui, Coffs Harbour, that fished quite well, most people that follow the riptide and the warm water charts can see that was a really good, strong current, and that brings some interesting species, of course, the marlin being one of them. When we had that report of a leatherback turtle very early in the Derwent, that was of interest. But anyway, once the water's here, you've got to go and fish it. They won't catch themselves. What you've got to do as well, I hear some reports of marlin being hooked and they're jumping off or they're not staying connected. And that's quite common in Tassie because we tend to fish heavy leader because we don't want to lose our lures. I know the lures are getting ridiculous, like lures are so expensive now. So people tend to fish with heavy leader thinking that they don't want to lose their lures to seals or breaking it off, and also heavy hooks. The secret to marlin fishing is lighter leader than you would think, first of all, to get the bite. And second, fine gauge hooks. There's a number of brands that make a fine gauge hook, and getting your hook in the back of the skirt a little bit and allowing that to really catch that striped marlin in the jaw and pin them hard. That's the secret. Is fishing light, I think, and some fine gauge hooks. You will catch them with anything. But most of the really good lure fishermen for marlin will tell you that heavy gauge hooks and heavy leader is not really that productive. If you change to light gauge hooks and lighter leaders, it's still only a 50-50 sort of a enterprise anyway. So that's why you'll see a lot of people teach themselves to switch bait. You'll get them up behind the boat, in behind your lures, and they'll feed a bait back with a circle hook in it. Then you're going to get your 70% or better hookup rates. It's just good fun, and it's tricky, but it's a process. It's not the same old. You'll drag the same old lures around. You might go okay, but you'll also have a fair few bite and then get jumped off. So it's exciting. So it's just hopefully we continue to get these really good currents, and we've got to work out where the yellowfin tuna are, because that water will be holding them. They're not in close, it wouldn't seem. Otherwise, we would have had some reports. Maybe they're out wider. And it's only a matter of time before someone catches a really genuinely big blue marlin. People might think I'm crazy saying that, but Peter Pacula and a fair few other anglers that have fished blue marlin off Queensland and off New South Wales for years have said that we'll have a blue marlin fishery. It'll just be wider than what we're prepared to go. And you don't have to go crazy wide. It's just 4, 5, 6, 8 nautical miles wider of the shelf. And we've been spoilt, and we've never had to go there. But if there's anyone that's want to push another frontier, then that'll be it, I reckon. Blue marlin in Tassie.
Very good. Looking forward to that. All right. A bit of brag time. Got some cool photos this week, so we'll jump straight into brags, because I know you've got to get going, Hooch. Thomas Milner, his first kingfish, 51 centimetres, caught on a prawn off Margate Jetty on 8 pound. That is probably the best story you could ever hear, isn't it?
Nice.
That's everyone hours and hours and hours trying to put lures across for kingfish. Oh, mate goes and gets himself on 8 pound off Margate Jetty on a prawn.
It's so dumb.
I love it. That's awesome work. Cool.
Cassie Petman with a nice little river trout, 3 for the session.
Yeah, he got himself a new rod the other day, went down the Hewan somewhere, I believe, and managed to get himself a couple of nice fish, so good job.
We got Leo Miller here, tagged and released a nice sword. I'm guessing that's East Coast.
That was down the neck, actually. On his birthday too, I believe.
Birthday,
so awesome work.
Well done.
Yeah, no, well, why not? Why wouldn't you? All right, Chris Hill with a cracking snapper. Was an awesome fish legend. Good job. Gavlin with a nice bluefin from Bass Strait. Obviously, we were talking about before. Some nice bass bluefin still kicking around up there, so awesome work.
We got Josh here with a cracking Northwest Coast bluefin.
Awesome.
Love that.
Oh, that's it.
Cam Cole with some smaller bream, but plenty of them.
Yeah, he's been fishing all up the East Coast and just recently in the Derwent, and he said he saw heaps of bream, but yeah, nothing particularly big. So just be good numbers, and nothing wrong with that.
We got Jason Forster here with a couple of cracking brown.
Awesome work. He's had a cracking year. It's a bad trout season for a lot of people, not for him.
Moving on, we got Peter Booth, a few fish from Fortescue Bay and Eaglehawk Neck, gemfish and blue grenadier off the shelf. We got a little bluefin in 12 metres of water off the reef to the right of.
Lufra Hotel.
Yep, you got it. Awesome work.
John Christian, good to see him out there having a bit of a crack. He got a nice little bluefin. It was a bycatch from chasing tuna, chasing the kingfish. Because the bycatch from chasing bycatch was the same thing chasing. No, he was up at Coles Bay having a crack for some kingfish and managed to get himself a nice little bluey. So awesome work, Joshua.
Andy Summit with some nice snapper in the south.
That was a good feed. Like, he really managed to get quite a few. So the snapper fishery is getting epic down here. Like, the guys out there managed to get a feed, and not catch a one or two, but like catch a bag, which is awesome. So good job, Andy.
And to finish it off, Michelle Garwood with some cracking little kingfish.
Yeah, I think it was her first kingfish 1 and 2, and she's on the board. So awesome work. That's it, brag-wise. Now, guys, obviously, if you're not a member of Snag, jump on over to snag.com.au, grab yourself a membership. Got some awesome prizes, which was, in particular, a big one, which we start advertising this week, which is a kingfish combo worth over $1,000, plus some $400 little prize packs for catching kingfish. And the other cool thing we've got going out this week is the interview I did with Damon Sheriff. I was expecting about a 10, 15-minute interview. Damo talked for about 40 minutes. So there's not anything there he hasn't left out. He goes through gear, he goes through lures, time of day, currents, absolutely everything. So I learned some stuff there, which has been good. So I'm looking forward to that getting out. It should be out this week as well.
Sweet. Oh, well.
That's us.
Cool, man.
Have an awesome week, guys.
Yep.